Woo doggy. It's top of the hour. It's 4 o'clock here at KRFF 95.9 LPFM. Moorhead, Fargo. 701-478-4959 is the number to the studio. RadioFreeFargo.org. You can go there and listen. You can listen to old shows. You can donate us all the money that you have in your little banky poo. We'll take it. Go ahead and give it to us at RadioFreeFargo.org. Blah-ba-dee-boop-a-dee-boop-boop. Side Stage with Trav is also on Thursdays from noon to 3. And we got an hour of automation. And then boomity-bang, you got your boy Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I'm Wilson. Every Thursday at 4 o'clock. Then we open a bag of cannabis news at 4:20. And boy, do we got a lot of stuff to talk about that's local for sure. I mean, it's starting to look like a soap opera, what with all this legislative no on a plant, but yes on revenue type stuff. You know what I mean? Like, well, you're related to this person and you're pro-cannabis and then your dad is against it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of weird. They don't, I'm sure they talk about it. So we'll get into all that. I got ahead of the game already, but I want to say that I have a sponsor now for the show, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. We talk about cannabis in a positive light and cannabis legalization here, and every Thursday at 4:20 we open a bag of cannabis news, and this Thursday is no different. It's 420 degrees here in the studio. I'm dressed appropriately. Welcome, and thanks for coming. Let's see, Black Cottage Alchemy. All right, this hour Canna-Talk ND is brought to you by Black Cottage Alchemy. Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook. The noted product, it's a friend of mine. It killed the funk of my feet. All right, so it's called Becky's Body Butter, and there's nobody's body this butter shouldn't be on. And it's available on the website, Black Cottage Alchemy. Or you can go to Odds 2 Ends in West Fargo. I'll have the address next Thursday. And then Tochi Products right across the street here. She does a balm, and then she does this just all over body stuff. It killed cold sore of my sister. I've had feet that, only a mother would be proud of. Is that right? No, it isn't. But anyway, I mean, it's as smooth as a flat asphalt. Okay, so anyway, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson is brought to you by Black Cottage Alchemy, most notably their body butter, Becky's Body Butter to be specific. Odds 2 Ends in West Fargo. I'll get the address, and then Tochi's Products. You can get it. And then, of course, online, you go to Black Cottage Alchemy, Facebook. Thank you, Becky, for sponsoring Canna-Talk ND with Wilson and promoting pro-cannabis. And I'll have the ingredients to that body butter next Thursday, too, because it's got a lot of stuff in it, and I'll tell you exactly what's in it, going forward. But this is like the rough draft of this whole thing. You know what I'm saying? The New Life Center helps people who are homeless and hurting go from merely surviving to truly thriving. Their aim is to help people in need discover value and find hope. The New Life Center has evolved into a multifaceted emergency and crisis service center. To learn more about NLC, visit their website at www.fargonlc.org or give them a call at 701-235-4453. And ladies and gentlemen, we've made ourselves to the first commercial break. Canna-Talk ND on YouTube. Philip Cannahead Pilko does a Sunday thing on Canna-Talk ND. ND for Freedom, which will soon be North Da Cannabis. You can go and stay current there. And that's about all I can tell you. Here's Pimps and Preachers, Paul Thorne. That's right, Pimps and Preachers, Paul Thorne. That's off the Pimps and Preachers album 2010. That whole album is good if you're asking me, and you're not. But Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday. I get in here at 4 o'clock, 4:20. We open a bag of cannabis news, and this Thursday's no different. It's a balmy 420 degrees here in the studio. I'm dressed appropriately, so don't worry about me. I hope everybody out there is feeling good. Cannabis legalization, that's what we're going to talk about. It's what we're always going to talk about, but I'm going to center more around, I mean, you're not going to believe this, but I'm probably going to run out of time because I got a lot of stuff to talk about, and I probably won't even get out of a tri-state area, because Minnesota's got stuff happening. And I just wanted to mention here quickly that, oh man, I have a hard time reading. Senate Bill 2234. Anyway, it was to, have medical home grow. And they wanted the, bare minimum, And so I just wanted to shout out Senator Anderson, Senator Deaver, Senator Larson with a D, and Senator Pepcorn. Merrill, he's from my town, Fargo, the best town in the state. If you're asking me, because that's where I'm at, Fargo, North Dakota. Radio Free Fargo, 95.9er. KRFF, that's what you're strapped into right now, and boy, it's going to be a good one. But I just wanted to mention, though, those were the 4 that voted yes. So everybody else voted a big fat no. And I noticed a couple roars in here. Looks to me like there's a J roars and a K roars. Now, I don't know, but I think there's a Shannon Roar Jones. Roars. Jones, roars. So I don't know. I feel like they're related. And Roar Jones, she is part of the House Bill 1420, which is going to legalize cannabis, but more of a revenue-driven and a controlled measure. Whereas, plants like this particular measure that I can't help but think her relatives voted against here. Keep thinking like maybe her dad's the senator. They didn't vote for this. So you would think if you were for cannabis, and if you're the kind of person and politician that I want you to be, then you don't waver and you believe it all is good. You get behind it. You know what I'm saying? And then push it through the goal. But it's really funny to me when, you have a person that'll use funny words but then be the sponsor of something that seems to be the opposite of that. Like I'm not for it, but if it's going to happen, we better corral it. And, it's almost like you go, now don't say that I'm for it by all means. Don't say it's, don't say I agreed with it. But if we have to agree with it, this seems like the plan to placate and patronize, which, meanwhile, medical patients should be able to grow for their own well-being and benefit. For their own well-being and benefit. For their own well-being and benefit. And so we start to lose sight, and I start to lose faith, when you look at that. So anyway, I just wanted to shout out one more time, Senator Anderson, because I know every one of these guys are listening right now. Senator Deaver, Senator Larson with the D, Senator Merrill Pipecorn, I salute you. Thank you for helping fight the battle for cannabis legalization. And I just kind of hollered my way through to the next musical break here. Here's the Juke Joint Pimps. I'll see you in a bit. And welcome back, KRFF 95.9 LPFM. That was Smelting Pot by Emancipator, Dab Records. Thank you. And before that was Morphine, Early to Bed. Makes a man miss out on the nightlife. Start that up with Sweet as Hems, the Juke Joint Pimps. Here at Radio Free Fargo 95.9, like I said, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. That's what's going on now. Every Thursday at 4:20, I open a big bag of cannabis news, and this Thursday's no different. And in fact, I can hear the screen door creaking open as we get to 4:20 because it's about here. So I would encourage everybody that's got medical cards, go snuggle up in front of your best bong. And I got a bunch of North Dakota, Minnesota stuff to talk about. And sadly, I'm ADD and I'm medicated, all right? But when I get excited about things I care about, and then there's a lot of information that I got to keep separate, right, in my short-term memory, because I don't write nothing down. That's for, that's for people that aren't me. I wanted to say big babies, but I don't even know. That doesn't play. But anyway, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday on Radio Free Fargo 95.9. RadioFreeFargo.org. You can go there, donate a little money, and then this show, minus the music, tomorrow around 5 o'clock on Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. So it's happening. Can you hear that? It's going to tell you to wake up. We'll see you in a minute, folks. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson.
Yo, it's Wilson from Canna-Talk ND. The super awesome show you're getting ready to listen to. I think you should go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll wait. Okay, enjoy the show.
Oh, yeah, I'd say that's enough introduction, don't you think? I want to shout out Wake and Bake by the Goats. No Goats, No Glory. I've been using those guys for over a year now. And Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. That's where we are, folks. So welcome. Thanks for joining me. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Every Thursday at 4:20, we talk about the newest possible news I could possibly talk about that happened since the last Thursday. So for you that are new, that's what you're going to hear. If you listened last Thursday, you won't hear nothing that's now because that was last Thursday last week. So I curate from the week before of cannabis news that's positive or not, and we talk about it here. And so, man, oh man, we got a lot going on. I don't even really know how to get started. So I thought, well, we'll just get started like people like to get started, to hear about money. All right, this is Marijuana Moment. Illinois sets new marijuana sales record in the first month of 2021. And as you know, I really enjoy these. And we really looked at them, because every month I could look forward to it, and the numbers always went up. And I have a show about the positivity of cannabis legalization, and cash money is the what do they say is the mediator, the leveler. I don't know. Illinois set yet another marijuana sales record in January with nearly, go ahead, guess, 5, 4, 3, 2, $89 million in adult use cannabis in the first month of 2021. Let me just say that again. Almost 90 million in adult use cannabis in Illinois. Of the 88 million spent on nearly 1.9 million adult use products, more than 25 million came from out-of-state visitors. From other states. That's right. They didn't even live in Illinois. They come from another place to buy the stuff. $25 million worth of stuff. So anyway, 88 million. So that's crazy. So anyway, last month's sales figures are more than double what they were in January 2020. So when I mentioned this in January, we've doubled the monthly sale figure. So in December, Illinois reported 86 million. So that seems to be... So meanwhile, the Department of Public Health separately reported on Wednesday that the state's medical cannabis program saw nearly 33 million in sales in January. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it sounds really good. So that's fantastic. So anyway, for you guys that are new and need convincing, that's $89 million in one state, 25 million from people that didn't even live there. So just imagine like if that was the case here. And that's kind of what's happening with the legislators. You can tell they don't know what they're talking about. They don't use, they don't call it cannabis. They use it like reefer madness type stuff, the marijuanas. The way they talk, like the minors might get to the marijuanas. Like you can just tell, like they didn't do the research. Because I've been watching in North Dakota this last legislative sessions, and I agreed with the guy on Facebook. He's like, I couldn't even listen to it because it sounded like Ma and Pa Clampett talking about something, that the youngsters know all about. And I feel like that's the problem for me. So anyway, we have a constitutional amendment initiative by the people. ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act, and as we go forward, it's a constitutional amendment, allows for 12 plants, and so far, I have a hard time saying it's not the one that should be looked at because it is. David Thompson, he wrote it, good lawyer, great measure. So you'll see that out and about. So make sure you sign that. I just don't get caught in the trap, that these politicians are spinning you to make you think that, don't get ahead of the cart, don't vote for this good people-driven measure, because it's the marijuanas and the kids. But again, that ship sailed, and the politicians got to get with it a bit, And so that's kind of, what they say, the grass is always greener, I feel like that's what's happening. That's what's happening now. I thought House Bill 1420 was a good one. Until stinking Minnesota filed theirs. You know what I mean? And it basically makes House Bill 1420 sound like something created by people who don't really know what they're doing, but they sure as heck don't want to give the money over to them other people. So it's kind of like they're trying to corral in this thing that is fleeting, like they feel like they're not grabbing a hold of it. It's because they didn't do the research. They don't do the research, and they don't listen to the people that knows what they're talking about. So if they could listen to what people are talking about, they'd first of all stop disrespecting, Mexicans and call it cannabis because that's the name it is. So start with that, doctor. Start calling it cannabis and always call it cannabis because that's what it is. The other words you guys came up with to spin. Like my daughter's a teacher, she's been talking about red herrings. That's what that was. That was a red herring to keep you from the reality that hemp was fine, but trees were owned by one guy who wanted to use them in place of hemp. Just as simple as that. And the guy was racist. He came up with marijuana moment. He came up with the word marijuana. So it's cannabis. So start there. And then do research and come at it like a humanity in a humane society, a humanity and freedoms of the people, that people forget that's how we got here. Freedoms and individuality and all that. And so, again, so House Bill 1420 last Thursday was a great measure. And again, anything that legalizes the medicine, because we can all benefit, I'm not against that. But then I seen Minnesota's option that would go through the legislative process. House Majority Leader Ryan Winkler, he filed the legislation, which is also being co-sponsored by the House Speaker, which is all good news. It would allow adults 21 and older to purchase and possess up to 1.5 ounces and cultivate up to 8 plants, 4 of which could be mature. It's like, in my head was like, what? 8 plants? Oh, well, how come 1420 no look like that? You know, how come the House Bill 1420 right across the river? I can wave at Ryan Winkler from here. You know? So, apparently, Winkler, he called it the best legalization bill in the country. Oh, that was back when he did it originally, you know? And so that's the other thing I just wanted, while I'm riffing here, I couldn't help notice that Legalize ND got behind House Bill 1420, mentioned some conversation and some relationship there between, you know, I'm assuming Roar Jones. Maybe some other guys too. But they claimed that they wouldn't go forward with the ballot initiative if 1420 got through. And I got to thinking, well, it looks a lot like the same one, though. You know, if House Bill 1420 works, I mean, I haven't looked at the two, but I bet you they look similar. You know, Legalize ND couldn't run with that one if they've given it to the legislators to use. I mean, can you do it twice? But I'm saying I haven't looked at it, you know. I'm not a lawyer, you know. I'm just, you know, a recovering drug addict trying to be better in life. And use this platform to benefit or to educate everybody on the benefits of cannabis. But I'm not going to read it. But if you looked at the two, I bet you they're similar. So it's like, well, they couldn't run with it anyway because they've given it to the legislators to do. And I'm just kind of half facetious, but they look similar. And, you know, they couldn't run with their own if they gave it to them to use. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, back to Minnesota. The bill's ready to go from the Minnesota House. And their priorities are to end the black market, provide a safe, regulated marketplace. The legislation will give Minnesotans the freedom to make their own decisions on a product that has some challenges, but is relatively safe, especially compared to other products. The majority leader also talked about the need to legalize in a regional context. He said if South Dakota legalizes, the ability for Minnesotans to drive across the border to get cannabis increases significantly. He uses if people are willing to drive to Wisconsin and buy fireworks, they certainly will drive to South Dakota to buy cannabis. And, I mean, Wisconsin is pretty, no question. But South Dakota on cannabis, I mean, come on. Black Hills camping with the ganj? I'm telling you, I mean, we're here to change the law, not break the law, but I'd go to South Dakota. So under the proposal, social equity would be prioritized in part by ensuring diverse licensing and preventing the market from being monopolized by corporate players. Let me read that again. Under Minnesota's legalization by legislators, under the proposal, social equity would be prioritized, in part by ensuring diverse licensing and preventing the market from being monopolized by corporate players. Prior marijuana records would also be automatically expunged. Automatically, right? Would you have to fill out a bunch of stuff and jump through hoops? Nope, automatically. Oh, you mean you got to call somebody and find out an address and lick a stamp? No, automatically expunged. And then 8 plants. Retail cannabis sales would be taxed at 10%, which again is 5% better than the House Bill 1420. House Bill 1420, you got no plants. No stinking demon plants. You know, you can't grow your own plants. I mean, then you wouldn't buy all our stuff. You know, and it starts to feel like that. You know, keep you from, you know, having your own, so you got to buy from, you know, Zymcoff, you know, Hale 1420. And I kid. But it is nice to now, like I said, this week, I'm not so pro I'm not so pro HB 1420 now, because Minnesota just pushed out a beautiful one. You know, so the grass is greener on the other side. You know, and it's probably because people that know and understand, you know, they're not trying to catch up with their education and learn, you know, and so they're not talking like they're from 1862. And this whole article didn't say marijuana maybe once. You know what I'm saying? So, again, when you don't call it cannabis, you disconnect yourself from the people out the gate. You know, and then to act like it's a sin, that's even crazy. Because, again, recovering drug addict, I mean, I use alternative medicines, but it wasn't enough. So I had to, like the stinking lady at the White House now, I'll use her phrase, I kind of circled back around to the higher power. And I asked them, am I sinning by doing this particular thing? And it's almost an assurance that what I'm doing is okay. That what I medicate with a natural growing plant and kratom is what the man upstairs would have wanted in the beginning, because that's what he provided. That's the way I feel. And so that's kind of how it should be treated. It should be treated like a supplement in our life that makes us better people, and we're just, satisfied. I don't know. I'm rambling now, but what I'm saying is this is the measure that we should have in North Dakota. This one is the one that everyone should fall by. So I hope that this gets through. And again, I'm kind of confused on how that all works myself. But I just wanted to say something here that there's a problem. Senator Paul Gazelka. And I'm reading this from the Minnesota Campaign for Full Legalization. I'm assuming Marcus Harkis wrote this, and I'm mostly on the spectrum, so I'm not going to deny saying Marcus Harkis isn't the coolest thing in the world. And in my head, I'm Tourette'sing, and I'm saying it over and over again, and I'm possibly becoming distracted so anyway, I'm assuming, shout out Marcus Harkis, you guys do great work over there. Keep going, and hopefully this will treat you guys right. So anyway, he wrote this. He wants you to call Senator Paul Gazelka to demand the fully legalized in Minnesota. Tell him that prohibition is the problem, not cannabis. Tell him cannabis is a safe healing plant, not a dangerous killer drug. Tell him to respect our personal freedom and not to continue subjecting us to these unjust laws. We shouldn't have to be criminalized because he doesn't like it. Hear, hear. Tell him a personal story about how cannabis has improved your quality of your life or the life of someone you love. Tell him a personal story about how prohibition has harmed your life and or the life of someone you love. Be emphatic about how prohibition is the problem, not cannabis, and that hashtag full legalization is the only solution. Tell Paul Gazelka that cannabis legalization is a Minnesota priority and that if they continue obstructing justice, he will be voted out of the office and the Republicans will lose majority control of the Senate in the next election. His phone number is 651-296-4875. You can mail him at 95 University Avenue W, Minnesota Senate Building, room 3113, St. Paul, Minnesota 55155. You can email him at https://www.senate.minnesota/members/email form /1169 hashtag legalize it Minnesota. So anyway, get on Senator Paul Gazelka and change his mind, because it needs to be changed. It's those kind of mindsets that cause me a little bit of concern when it comes to the North Dakota's just blatant ignorance, But then they say, dumb like a fox. Some would argue that politicians know exactly how to play it, and they keep it dumb because, critical thinking is bad. Okay? So anyway, let's see. I think we pretty much handled the Minnesota one. So anyway, I think you got to call your legislators like that. And so now I'm to Idaho. And I don't know if you guys are staying up on cannabis and cannabis news and legalization. I'm assuming you guys do, because you're listening to me, or you just happen to be going to Cashwise and you got your station locked on 95.9, the coolest radio station in Fargo, and you're like, oh, it's my favorite guy, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson, sharing positive legalization of cannabis news every week. At 4:20, I open a big fat fresh, stinky bag of cannabis news, and we're up to my nipples in it right now. Welcome if you just, got in your car. But anyway, I just completely forgot what I was talking about. Oh, yeah, Idaho. Okay, so let me see if I can kind of set this up here. Idaho doesn't have anything, even like medical. You can have CBD, but boy, it better be CBD, and it feels like South Dakota. And again, the fact that South Dakota's, law enforcement got stomped with the passing of the rec and medical, it feels like Idaho is the weirdest place for that kind of closed-minded, narrow thinking to cannabis. They're right by Washington, Oregon, Montana. it's like they're holding their own. Like it's like they're like, well, you ain't going to get us to be cool with cannabis. We'll be the last. They got the little guys on the border with no pot, no go. I don't know. I was just kind of guessing there. But anyway, it's kind of hard to know where to start here. But anyway, let me see if I can. Okay, so Idaho Senate passes measure to block marijuana legalization, even if voters approve it on the ballot. Okay, now before I go any further, this crazy senator who's starting all this, I think he's the one who wrote the bill or whatever. Apparently, he has family members that have had to move to states to get medical cannabis for the relatives. They had to move to another state. A relative of this senator who's trying to block cannabis legalization. Okay, so let's get started on this. The Idaho Senate on Wednesday, and that's the sad thing because this started in the beginning of the week, and if you've been following it, the committee meeting hadn't met yet, and people were out there, like advocating that they wouldn't pass it from 24 to 11. So that's like, what is that? 24. That's over half, or over twice as many voted that this resolution passed, And okay, so anyway, the Idaho Senate on Wednesday, they approved a resolution to amend the state constitution, right? Basically what Indy for Freedom of Cannabis is trying to do. They're trying to amend the state constitution to add home grow, da-da-da-da-da. So they're doing it in the right way. But these guys are doing the same thing, but they're trying to prevent marijuana or other drugs from being legalized. I guess maybe they're freaking out about the coke and all that stuff in Oregon. And I'm not going to lie, as a recovering addict, that trips me out too. But I understand the minimal harm, the least restrictive means, whatever, So anyway, if the House follows suit, so this is backwards anyway, right? Usually the Senate is second, I feel. But anyway, if the House follows suit, the action could create serious complications for activists who are seeking to put cannabis reform measures on Idaho's 2022 ballot. The Senate State Affairs Committee, they approved the resolution along party lines last week, and the full chamber has now passed it. Because remember, you go to committee, you go to chamber, you go to committee, you go to chamber, and then the governor. Okay, so the full chamber has now passed it, 24-11. If it gets a 2/3 majority in the House as well, it will be placed before voters on the midterm election ballot, which is the only relief thing of this whole thing. Because hopefully the people will handle this. So the measure stipulates that the production, manufacture, transportation, sale, delivery, dispensing, distribution, possession, or use of a psychoactive drug in which cannabis is a part of that shall not be permitted in the state of Idaho. It would make an exception for substances that are approved by the FDA, but it would effectively kneecap efforts to establish a medical cannabis program that looks anything like those implemented in other legal states. And I repeat, it would effectively kneecap efforts to establish a medical cannabis program that looks anything like those implemented in other legal states. I mean, it would almost make North Dakota's first run through with medical marijuana as being better. Just wrap your head around that. North Dakota had a better medical bill when it, in its virgin state than this one. So anyway, they'll make an exception. But what makes the measure problematic for advocates is that should the legislature ultimately approve it, the resulting constitutional initiative on ballot would take precedent over any statutory legalization measure that appears alongside it, regardless of the margin that any measure ultimately gets approved by. So it feels a lot like that stinking Measure 2 in North Dakota that I was hollering about. This is a sneaky Measure 2. This amends the Constitution. So basically makes this thing no way. This is the next step. So be very careful when North Dakota legislators try doing the same stinking thing. Because I don't think they have yet. And hopefully none of them listen to me. you know what I mean. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday, 4:20. We open a big bag of cannabis news, and we're doing it right now. I'm talking about Idaho and the stinking thing that passed it. It has to pass the House, 2/3 of the House. But it's already passed the committee, and twice as many people got it of the Senate. So senators really don't want anything to do with anything. So activists are dealing with this development as they work to collect signatures on an initiative to legalize medical cannabis, and while a separate group is preparing to place adult use before voters. Now, the Senate-approved resolution says that the normalization of illicit drug use is having a profound negative impact on Idaho citizens. And I would tell you, Dogface 280, who lives in Idaho, doesn't agree with that. All right? Dogface does not agree with that. Okay? So, you talk about Idaho, it's like no Idaho. Feel me? But anyway, activists say the proposal is anything but reasonable and is intended to undermine the democratic process, misleading voters by neglecting to directly explain how the measure would impact medical cannabis reform efforts, and instead referring broadly to psychoactive drugs, which they got to get that out of there. Okay, so here's the language that these guys want to put in. You guys ready? And I quote, "Shall Article 3 of the Constitution of the State of Idaho be amended by the addition of a new Section 30 to provide that the production, manufacturing, transportation, sale, delivery, dispensing, and possession or use of certain psychoactive drugs shall not be lawful in the state of Idaho unless such drugs are A, approved by the FDA, and B, lawfully prescribed and lawfully dispensed. If approved, that would mean that Kind Idaho's medical cannabis legalization measure and another initiative in the works would be rendered null and void regardless of whether a majority of Idaho's passed either of them." So let me say this. It would be rendered null and void if every person in Idaho that could vote voted for it. It would be rendered null and void. That's heavy and that's serious, and shame on you, Idaho legislators. I don't even know what's wrong with you. I do know what's wrong with you. You're ignorant, just like North Dakota, about cannabis and how it's not psycho. I don't know how to get these guys to be, and I don't want to say hip and cool, but start looking at this as less of a, I don't know how to do it. All I know is I'm living an example, and I'm just being the platform I'm using to tell everybody that cannabis legalization is for the benefit of humanity. It shouldn't even be sin taxed. We're not talking alcohol, tobacco, and cannabis. It's not in the same thing. Because again, your body holds on to cannabis as long as it possibly can, up to 30 days or more. Because it wants it and needs it and can use it. Take it from me. I mean, I used to do felony probation. I'd do speed up to 72 hours, and I would push it to the 72 hour. When I had my probation time, it was 2 o'clock. 72 hours at 1 o'clock. Before that, I would stop doing the methy meth. You see what I'm saying? Because your body gets rid of that as soon as it possibly can because it's poison. Cannabis, on the other hand, is not poison. So it keeps it. So to me, that's just logical, But anyway, I can just feel my blood pressure up there. So yeah, go and check that out yourself. Go to Idaho. It looks like Virginia marijuana legalization bills clear procedural floor hurdles ahead of Friday deadline. Washington lawmakers introduced long-awaited bill to decrim all drugs and expand treatment. Again, I don't know about all that. New York lawmakers slam governor's marijuana legalization plan while toting legislators' own bill. I don't know about that. I'm just kind of reading it. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every stinking Thursday, 4 o'clock I get in here, KRFF 95.9 of 420. We talk about cannabis news and in a positive light. We've wrapped that up. We're at the end of it, So this hour of programming on KRFF 95.9 LPFM is being underwritten by Wild Terra. Wild Terra is an urban cider in downtown Fargo that features locally made craft ciders with a focus on dry and experimental ciders that also serves beer, wine, and kombucha. Wild Terra is located at the corner of University and NP Avenue with lots of easy parking and a new outdoor patio, plus they're dog and family friendly. Open 7 days a week. That's Wild Terra, adventurously well crafted. So, KRFF, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson, Canna-Talk ND on YouTube, RadioFreeFargo.org. You can go and donate. I'm about ready to play 3 groovy ditties. One happens to be Tie Me Kangaroo Down Sport. So I know I can hear 2 people clapping. So I just wanted to, let you guys know that Tie Me Kangaroo Down Sport is in the playlist. It's not first and it isn't last. All right, so let's get rocking. Here's Keep It Between the Lines. Oh boy, I just did what's called a sandwich. Sturgill Simpson. First he did Keep It Between the Lines, Cutting Grass Volume 2. Then it was Tie Me Kangaroo Down Sport, Tie Me Wallaby Free. Cockatoo-Loo. That's a great song. And then Turtles All the Way Down. Finish that. RadioFreeFargo.org. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. KRFF 95.9 LPFM. Every Thursday I'm in here. Side Stage with Trav is noon to 3. Automation for an hour. And then Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. We talk about cannabis and cannabis legalization and progress and the benefits of it. And today was no different. Boy, it was a scorcher. You might have to go back and listen to that tomorrow. Canna-Talk ND on YouTube about 5:30 minus the music. I also want to say that today is brought to you by Becky's Body Butter. There ain't nobody's body that this butter shouldn't be on. It's great stuff. It's done a lot of things for me and my family. Go check it out. Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook. You can go to Tochi Products right next to me here. They've got that and lip balms. Or you can go in West Fargo, odds 2 ends, and I'll get the address and the ingredients next Thursday. But again, this hour is sponsored by Becky's Body Butter. Ain't nobody's body this butter shouldn't be on. Black Cottage Alchemy. Thank you. KRFF 95.9. We're wrapping it up. Again, educate yourself so you can educate others. Bug your legislators. If you're in Minnesota, mess with that one guy. And just, anyway, if you see Indy for Freedom out there, go ahead and sign that. I thought maybe we had 3 different viable options until I seen Minnesota's. And now I'm back to power to the people. So promote and support. I'll be back next Thursday. You can believe that. Side Stage with Trav, noon to 3. Then me from 4 to 5. We got locals on the 8 coming up after me. Thirsty Thursday, huh? But make sure you wash your hands and you keep a smile on. And hug your brother. Everybody get together right now. Cannabis legalization, it needs to happen. And I'll be back next Thursday to talk about it. But in the meantime, here's David Allen, Judgment Day. Peace.